Welcome to the playlist on the unit for Math 30-3, limits to measurement. So we're going to talk about converting units and how precise and accurate our measurements are. In order to start this unit, we're going to start off with just some stuff on imperial and metric units and unit conversions. So you may recall some units of imperial length, so inches, feet, yards, miles, those are all imperial units of length, as opposed to something like kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. Those would all be metric units of length. We're going to start out by looking at some examples where we have to convert imperial units of measure. And you're going to be given a formula sheet with some common conversions, and we're going to have to use them to help us change things into a different unit. So that first one, I'm looking to turn 12 feet into some amount of yards. Now there should be a conversion that tells me something between yards and feet. And the way that I like to do them, I like to match up the units and create myself two fractions. So essentially what I'm going to do is use the unit conversion and place the units into those two fractions. And I like to match the units on the left and the right. So basically what I'm going to do is place 3 feet on the left and 1 yard on the right. Because those two things are equal to one another, I can actually do this. Now once that's done, maybe what I'll do, it looks kind of messy like that, we're going to write it out down below. So let's make those things equal, and let's put our 12 feet here and our X amount of yards here. Okay, basically what we've done is created a proportion. And now what I can do to make my way through this is multiply the numbers that are diagonal, divide by the one that's left over, and that will point me straight to my answer. In my classes, I call this the fish method because I can draw a little fish if I've done it correctly. So if I take 12 and multiply it by 1, I'm going to get 12, and when I divide that by 3, I'm going to get my answer of 4 yards. Okay, we can try the same method for B. So if we write out our fraction below, 72 inches is equal to X amount of yards. We're looking for a conversion between inches and yards, and luckily for us there is one. So 36 inches is equal to 1 yard. And we can use our method again. So if we go 72 multiply by 1 and then divide that by 36, we get 2 yards. Okay, for part C, we're looking for inches and feet. Now 1 foot is 12 inches. So divide that by 12 inches, and that's equal to 1 foot. And again, same thing, 17 multiplied by 1, and then divide that by 12, and you're going to get 1.42 feet. And we can convert miles into feet as well, because there's a conversion that says 1 mile is the same thing as 5,280 feet. So cross multiply, 5280, multiply it by 2, then if you divide by 1, nothing changes, so this turns out to be 10,560 feet, 10,560 feet as your conversion. Okay, we can also look at measurements that are smaller than an inch. So how do we measure something smaller than an inch? And we're going to mark smaller units using fractions. So on that ruler below, I know that the one in between 0 and 1 is going to tell me that it's half an inch. Maybe I'll zoom in here. It's going to be half an inch. Now half of a half is really going to be a quarter, and half of a quarter is going to be an eighth. Okay, so if that's 1/8, the next fraction up, actually underneath, let's do this in eighths. So this is going to be, maybe I'll use a different color. Let's use blue. So I have 1/8. This is going to be 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. And then we can reduce the fractions, which I'll put in pink. So 1/8 can't be reduced, it stays 1/8. 2/8, however, can be reduced to 1/4. 3/8 cannot be reduced. 4/8 is the same thing as a half. 5/8 can't be reduced. 6/8 is the same thing as 3/4. And of course, 8/8 is the same thing as 1. So you can keep this pattern going, and you can fill out the entire ruler based on these tiny fractions. Okay, example 3 then has us read the length of each object. So if we zoom in on this object here, it's more than 2 inches. We have to figure out how much more than 2 inches it is. So again, if this is 1/2 of an inch and this is 1/4, that means the little tiny sections are 1/8, and we're going 1/8, 2/8, this is 3/8. So the length of this screw is going to be 2 3/8 of an inch. So you could write this in 2 3/8 inches, or 2 3/8 of an inch. Okay, those double tick marks tell you that they are inches. Okay, for B, it's a key, and again, it's just a bit more than 3 inches. So here's my 1/2, here's my 1/4, which is perfect, lines up exactly where I want. So this is 3 1/4 inches, or it's 3 1/4 inches, or it's 3.25 inches. All of those things are equivalent. Okay, we'll stop there, and then we'll come back, and in the next video we'll talk about metric units.